New details tonight on Michael Jackson's death. The Associated Press is reporting that the LA County coroner has ruled Michael Jackson's death a homicide. The news could mean criminal charges for Jackson's personal doctor, Dr. Conrad Murray. Murray was in the house with Jackson when he died. There are also more details contained in a search warrant and court documents unsealed today. We have complete coverage tonight with Randy Kay in Los Angeles and senior legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin here in New York. But first to Randy Kay in Los Angeles with the very latest. Randy, what can you tell us?
Well, I know you mentioned that report by the Associated Press saying that the death has been ruled a homicide. And I do want to point out that when it comes to the coroner's ruling of a homicide, it could have a very different meaning. It has a much larger meaning. It could be first-degree murder. It could mean reckless manslaughter. It could mean negligent homicide. There are all kinds of things there. So the Associated Press is quoting a single source there. We have called the LAPD. They said that information was not coming from them. We also called the coroner's office here in LA County, and they gave us a no comment. We did check with the district attorney's office as well, and they said they haven't received the case yet to consider charges. So this is all very important in relation to the idea of whether or not this has been ruled a homicide. We can tell you, though, that according to the affidavit and the search warrant that was filed today that we have, it does say that police have found evidence of manslaughter at Dr. Conrad Murray's clinic in the Houston area. Dr. Conrad Murray, as you know, has been the target of this investigation. He is Michael Jackson's personal physician. So they say, according to this affidavit, that police have determined and the county coroner has determined that toxicology analysis showed that Michael Jackson had lethal levels of propofol, this very powerful sedative, in his blood at the time of his death. This is really key because we know from a source close to this investigation that Dr. Conrad Murray had given Michael Jackson propofol within 24 hours of his death. Now we see it in writing here from authorities. And according to some of the quotes from Dr. Murray to police in this document, apparently Dr. Murray feared that Michael Jackson had become addicted to propofol. He was trying to wean him off it. And in place of that, he tried giving him Valium the day that he died to help him sleep because he was having trouble sleeping for about 6 weeks. He tried lorazepam. He tried midazolam, then again lorazepam 2 milligrams, then again midazolam at 2 milligrams. And then at 10:40 in the morning, just a few hours before Michael Jackson suffered cardiac arrest, he did go ahead and give him this 25 milligrams of propofol. So that's just within a few hours of his death. And as you know, it's a very powerful sedative, really reserved for a hospital setting. And apparently it's not the first time, I just want to leave you with this, not the first time that Michael Jackson has used propofol. According to Dr. Murray telling authorities that he was very familiar with the drug. This drug has a milky, it looks like a milky substance, has a milky appearance. He told authorities that Michael Jackson referred to propofol as his milk. So there you have it, a history of Michael Jackson with propofol, and now the first time, according to this preliminary report from the coroner's office, that he had lethal levels of this very powerful sedative in his blood.
Randy, I want to go back to something that you said, that it wasn't just propofol. The day or hours within hours before he died, that there were several other drugs. And there's a timetable, isn't there? I mean, really within hours, it sounds like a cocktail, really, of drugs.
Exactly. It certainly seems to be. I can give you the exact times. On the morning that Michael Jackson died, June 25th, apparently Dr. Murray told authorities that he tried to induce sleep because he had been giving Michael Jackson 50 milligrams of propofol, and he wanted to reduce it. He wanted to get him off it, actually. So he tried giving him Valium at 1:30 in the morning. When that didn't work, he said he injected the lorazepam intravenously. That was at 2 a.m. And then at 3 a.m., he was still awake, so he administered what he called midazolam. And then over the next few hours, he continued with more of this lorazepam and more midazolam. And then finally, at 10:40 in the morning, Michael Jackson, still awake, according to Dr. Murray, repeatedly demanding the propofol. And at 10:40 in the morning, just a few hours before he collapsed, that is when Michael Jackson was given the 25 milligrams of the propofol. Actually, we know that Dr. Murray called 911 just after around noon or so. So not long before that was he given this drug.
Okay, Randy, thanks for that great reporting, and I know you will continue to keep us up to date. Thank you very much, Randy, from L.A. Well, joining me now with more on the legal ramifications of the preliminary report is CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin. I want to go back to something that Randy said, which is it's a homicide charge, but under that we could be talking, what, first-degree murder, manslaughter? What's most likely here?
There's a wide variety of charges that are included within the broader category of homicide. First-degree murder, you can get the death penalty for that. You can be charged with manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, which is a much lesser crime. Certainly, there does not appear to be any evidence in this case that suggests any sort of intentional murder. So any sort of charges look like they will be at the manslaughter end of the spectrum, but you can still go to jail for a considerable amount of time if you're convicted of that.
What do you have to, I guess, what's the threshold of evidence? I mean, is it enough to say he gave him the medication, or is there a level of, I mean, he's a medical doctor, so should he have known that this might have, and realizing that this is very, very early on, he has his lawyer and he has denied any wrongdoing, says he has not admitted any kind of wrongdoing of any sort, so we should first mention that. But what is the threshold of evidence that they would have to prove?
Well, in layman's terms, for manslaughter, you have to prove some sort of recklessness. Doctors try to cure patients all the time, and they sometimes die. That obviously is not any sort of crime. Here, the investigation has obviously been pointed at proving that Murray behaved in such a way that he caused Jackson's death in a reckless and irresponsible way. That's really what manslaughter is. It's not intentionally killing someone, but it's behaving in such a way that you cause their death and you behaved recklessly in doing it.
Now here, there were other doctors. Dr. Conrad Murray is not the only doctor apparently here, I mean, from everything that we know. So do you think that others will be brought into this investigation, or do you think that it will just focus on Dr. Murray because he was the last doctor with Michael Jackson when he died?
I don't know at this point. The investigation of Dr. Murray has been very public. There's been a search warrant of his house, of his office, a pharmacy he used. But investigators have also said they're investigating other people, and it is in the prosecutors and police's interest to look at everyone who had dealings with Jackson, because you know that Murray's defense, if he's charged, is going to be, why are you blaming me? Look at all the other people who were treating him. Looking at all the drugs he had access to. Look at what he did to hasten his own death. So a comprehensive, broad-ranging investigation is very much in the government's interest, even if they only wind up charging Murray with a crime.
And really briefly here, but Conrad Murray, he went online, on the internet, on YouTube, and basically said, you know, I've done all I can, I've told the truth, and I have faith that the truth will prevail. Will these types of public statements online, does it help him? Does it hurt him?
I don't think it makes much difference. If there's a charge, he won't go to trial probably for a year. No one's going to remember what he said in his online statement, and it's not evidence in the case. I don't think it will matter. What's really going to matter is the evidence. Also, you talk about his statements. What statements he made to the police immediately after, whether those statements are proved to be false in any respect, that could be evidence of consciousness of guilt if he's found not to have told the truth. But we don't know if he did or not.
Okay. Jeffrey Toobin, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.